And good morning, good afternoon, good day, because people join from different parts of the world, and some people have daytime, some people have some night. So I'm Nahide Manova, and I'll host today's session. And this is both a privilege and also sincere pleasure to welcome you all to EDU 361 Expo 2025. And this is truly remarkable global gathering dedicated to the future of education. Um, and Now Rob Howard is going to make his presentation. His presentation is about the why in hype, AI versus AY. So Bob is the president of IATEFL Poland and founder of EFL Talks. Yes, he's a thought leader in business English, teacher development, and educational entrepreneurship. So, Bob, the stage is yours. The floor is yours. Good luck
Great.
to you.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for being here. And this is just a little bit about what I do, but let's move on. I want to show you, this is just a little bit of history over the past, let's see, this is 6 years now. I've been talking a lot about technology and more recently about the use of AI. And here I am today. I think this is talk number 50 in the past 6 years, just about technology and AI. And if you've seen some of my previous talks, one of the key things that I'm talking about is there is no evidence of retention using technology, and including with AI. Now, you're going to hear everybody talking about the great things about AI. I'm not anti-AI, but I want you to think, and that's what this is about. It's to give you some food for thought. And one of the problems that I think is happening is we've put technology before methodology. We're too concerned about getting the technology running in the classroom, and we're not worried about pedagogy anymore. And I see this all the time with all these talks about AI and technology and gamification. The problem with this is that gamification, for instance, puts competition over comprehension. And it uses game mechanics to keep engagement high. So one of the things is that causes addiction over motivation. Now, I want motivated students, not addicted students. And these are some of the things that, if you've heard the other talks, I show you how the research that's been done is all old research from before any of the technologies we had now. So, getting on to AI. We've heard all of the promises, and we'll hear a lot more of them here today, I'm sure. And it's going to change the world. It's going to bring everything. It's going to make changes in everything. We heard it about VR. We heard it about the internet. We heard it about computers in the classroom and Second Life. And now we're hearing it about AI, how it's going to change education. This is hype. And there's a question, why don't most of the tech apps that are out there work effectively? And as I said before, because there's no methodology and no pedagogy behind it. Now, I am generalizing. I'm not saying they're all bad, and some of them are good and done by educators. Most of them aren't, though. A good case in point is Duolingo. That's proof that engagement without pedagogy doesn't teach, because it gets you wrapped up, it gets you engaged, and it's sending you messages like, oh, we miss you, baby. I got one like that last month for Polish because I stopped using it. but there's no pedagogy there. Now, you have to understand, what are the motives behind ed tech? Is it educating, or is it data mining? Now, we've all heard about AI bias, and this is biases that skew the data or the algorithms. And if you look at it, the amount of facts, everything that can be biased, even gender bias, and we're counting on this as something that's going to bring diversity and inclusivity. I hear this all the time, how AI is going to fix that. It's not, because it's biased towards men, specifically white men in English-speaking countries. Now, you heard all the other problems, and we're not going to talk about these. There's a million different things that we can talk about. And what bothers me is going to the big conferences. The thing that people are worried about the most is how much water we're going to use and how much electricity we're going to use. That's not what we should be worried about with ed tech and with AI. The focus, you have to realize that ed tech is huge, and over 2,000 startups have already closed in the past 5 years. And 90% of these AI startups and ed tech startups fail quite quickly. Those who've been teaching for a while and like technology, you probably remember Flipgrid, which later changed to Flip, which later just flipped out and died. And it's all gone, along with Edmodo, Ed, Paper, 2U, along with Bloom. All these are ed tech products that everybody said will change the world, and they're gone. Along with all of these here, even from educational companies that have tried and failed, they're gone. And this is the problem, because most ed tech startups fail within 2 to 3 years. That's because things change so rapidly, and other reasons, which I'll point out in a minute. But case in point, a couple of years ago in 2023, Matt Miller put out a great book of AI for educators, and it had lots of great ideas with ed tech products that came out. It's already outdated because half of them are already out of business. Now, some of the problems are there's a long sales cycle. I'll do this quickly. But if you're selling this to governments, to universities, to educational systems, there's a long sales cycle because they take time to decide. There's limited budgets, not only from the educational institution, but from the teachers, and also from the startups themselves, because usually they get seed money right up front, and then they don't get more money to keep it going. There's scalability issues. It works great for the 1 or 2 school systems that you tried it out with, but when you try to go nationwide or worldwide, your servers aren't big enough, and the scalability has problems, and it dies. Then there's always the problem that we have, user engagement. Duolingo is a perfect example. How many people don't finish it and just give up on it? And most of these companies, because they're behind the wall someplace, and they're behind a curtain, there's no focus on customer service, whether it be for the teacher, whether it be for the end user, the student. And the big problem, of course, as I mentioned, the lack of pedagogical grounding. You know, these AI apps are really flashy, they look really cool, but are they really teaching anything? And going back to some of the history, Los Angeles spent millions, $6 million to put AI chatbot into their schools. And within months, it was out of business. That's a lot of money to throw away. ChatGPT, in research, actual research that is coming out now, is shown that we're declining academic performance and memory loss using ChatGPT. And this effect it's the AI crutch effect. And it means that students are using AI so much that their reading comprehension numbers have dropped, their writing proficiency is dropping, critical thinking, if they ever thought in the first place, going, and memory is gone. That's because we're using AI as a crutch. And there's recent stuff to come out from the negative impact of generative AI. Sorry, it's late at night. And look at the learning effectiveness. When students are using AI, 25% decrease when their work is AI based, 12% when it's AI assisted. And this is the effectiveness of learning. This has been measured. It's recent, came out just last year. Now there's an MIT study that has come out which links the chat box to reduced brain activity. And this was done with EEGs on all the subjects. And it's showing that we have reduced activity while using chatbots, reduced from talking to real people. Now, NVIDIA, the CEO, came out and trashed the MIT. You're going to hear this argument both ways. And he came out and said, basically, it's garbage. But you know what? He also said, I haven't looked at the research. So he hasn't even looked at the research, and he's already judged that it's garbage. Why? Because NVIDIA makes millions and billions of dollars using AI. So, of course, we're going to get bias from the AI people themselves. Now, one of the problems is we're doing cognitive offloading. And this is basically, think of it like third-party thinking. We're letting somebody else do the thinking for us when we're using AI in most cases. It causes a reduction in skills, and in the long run, it's going to cause mental atrophy and definitely laziness, because people say, oh, it's easier to just get it off of ChatGPT or whatever else I'm going to use. So this is a quote you may have seen in the past. People will get dumber as AI gets smarter, and worry about, as the models get better and better, that users have less and less of their own thought process. This is from Sam Altman, who's the CEO of OpenAI. So even they know that AI is going to affect how it affects us. Another study done in China. This is affecting definitely adolescent social adaptability. And we know it's already bad enough that we stick them in front of a cell phone all day. But now in school, we're sticking them in front of AI. And schools are trying to teach America's kids to think like Elon. Yeah, a little crazy. And if you keep reading, no, this was not my article. I didn't quit teaching because of ChatGPT. But teachers are leaving the profession because of it. Now, there's been a lot of studies now about the effects of screen time on child development. And we know every kid has a phone. If you've seen some of the recent YouTube videos from major psychologists are saying that kids should not have a smartphone before the age of 13 or 14. Good luck taking it away if you have a kid. They said give them a regular standard phone, not smartphones, because they have all this technology in their hand. And what's making it worse is in the US, between grades 1 and 12, their average screen time now is over an hour and a half out of a 5-hour day. That's 33% of their day is spent in front of screens with technology on average. Schools are even setting up student accounts as early as the first grade. That's 6 years old. And psychologists are telling us that they shouldn't be doing this stuff before 13 or 14. Yet we don't listen. 11 to 17-year-olds should have no more than 1 to 2 hours a day of screen time. 8 to 18-year-olds spend 7.5 to 8 hours a day outside of school on the screen. And now you're adding more screen time during school. And you don't think that this has an effect? More screen time means less interaction, less time for the teacher, and basically it has less collaboration. It impairs speech because people aren't talking to each other anymore. Cognitive development and emotional maturation. So congratulations if you're using chatbots and putting your students in with a chatbot. They are speaking with the chatbot, but the question is, who are they speaking to? Because they don't know how to speak to humans anymore. There's a video here. I'm not going to play it, but if you do some checking on YouTube, this is a great video by Sophie Winkleman. Came out early this year. And she's an actress, but she's an advocate for getting kids off of all this screen time. And brilliant talk, but we won't do it today. Now, we all know the AI vicious cycle. The teacher uses AI to create student work, then the student uses AI to do the work, and then the teacher uses AI to correct the work. And the student just says, what's the sense anyway? Why do we even bother with school if it's only going to be AI that's doing anything? Because nobody else is working on it. Now, up to 80% of teachers are using AI and technology for teaching, and only 20% are using it to prepare their classes. This should be flipped. People should be using it to prepare themselves, use AI as a tool to make life easier and to help prepare. But stop bringing it into the classroom. And my thing is that I'm going totally in the opposite direction of what everybody else is going to tell you. Just avoid the hype. All we hear every day is this app does this. This is great for that. This does everything. And, it's just too much. And teachers are feeling pressured now into using AI. I do talks all over Europe and outside of Europe, and a lot of teachers are feeling that, they may have to look for new jobs because a lot of school systems, a lot of ministers of education are incorporating AI and forcing teachers to have to use it in class. Not right. So who's driving all this, though? Who's behind all this pressure? It's not the learners. The learners aren't coming to class and saying, please give me AI, give me tech. So they're being pushed by who? It's our colleagues. we hear these things all the time with all these talks, and we'll hear a lot of them today. Sorry if you're presenting after me. But the industry is the one that's really pushing this. And why is the industry so far behind it? Because education is big business. It's money. It always comes down to money. The ed tech market in 2024 was $165 billion. It's expected by 2030 to become $773 billion. And out of all that money, the ELT market represents 47 to 54%. Half of the market is ELT. So that means the 6-year projected growth is 368%. Now, question to ask yourself, when all these new apps and all these new innovations come out, where are they released? Think about this. When they do the big releases on this, where is it? You know, they have these huge things at the Consumer Electronics Show, Big Data Show, the AI shows, the World Summit. Big, 10,000 people in the audience, more in some cases, spending millions of dollars to promote the products and release the products. And then even companies like OpenAI and Microsoft, Perplexity, Google, they all do their own shows. These are huge, very expensive shows. And for some reason, they all like to use this blue. I don't know. I guess blue signifies AI. They're not coming to teacher associations, and they're not coming to our booths. This is Duolingo booth. This is the commitment that they put into working with teachers in education. A table and a tablecloth. Not a lot of money. So you're not really seeing these companies coming to us because you know what? They don't care about the educators. They don't care about that. They're already looking ahead to the end user. And they're already promoting to the end users, bypassing teachers altogether. Remember that these are products. AI apps are products. They're products made for the consumer. And that means they're made to be consumed, not necessarily to educate. Now, understand that AI in education is now the 7th highest marketplace in AI. And that changed from number 8 last year. And the other problem is AI will become economical for large school systems because they're selling in mass. And school systems are buying into this because they feel that it's a way that they can save money and promote. But as you've seen, some countries are buying into it. We already have countries who are buying out of it and taking the technology and the AI out of the classroom. And this is what we need to consider. It will make a huge impact on schools. It could mean less teachers. We could be setting up, and they're saying now, okay, it's just a tutor. It's just a teaching assistant. That's today. Khan Academy, which I've always been a fan of, Sal Khan has a new product that's coming out, which is a tutoring product. And it's designed to be used alongside of a teacher at the cost of $15 per student per month. So that's a huge amount of money. It's more money than hiring a teaching assistant. So one of the problems is that the educators, us, the teachers, we're usually not making these decisions. A lot of these decisions are made by accountants, the people at the top. If you look at in the United States, we have a minister of education who thinks that this is A1 steak sauce and not AI. So accountants are making the decision. Decisions are being made from the top down. And that's not where the decisions should be coming from. Decisions like this should be coming from the educators. They should be coming from the bottom up, from the people who are on the front lines and who are working with it, and from the users. Now, what we have to do is worry about the pedagogical effectiveness. We need to start asking ourselves questions. How well is the AI dialogue serving the outcome of what we're looking for in class? Is it necessary? What design principles were used in the development of the app that we're using? How accurate and responsive and technically sound is it? Everybody always talks about the hallucinations, and we know that we don't have accurate information coming from AI. We also don't have it from every teacher either, so I'll call that an even break. But we have to make sure that they are technically sound and responsive. And we have to be very aware of the fact that what we're doing is we are causing in our learners a digital overload. As I said, we have the cell phone in front of our faces 7 to 8 hours a day, and then in school, we're sticking it in front of them even more. Platform fatigue causes cognitive strain. You know, after 20 minutes of listening to something, you just turn off sometimes. Imagine when this is constant and AI is just constantly running. It doesn't take breaks. Daily screen exposure causes reduced attention span. We already know that the attention span has been shrinking with generations. Since television, that affected it, the internet affected it, social media affected it, cell phones affected it. Now AI is affecting it even more. Because at least with social media, we're doing something that we're engaged in and we're motivated. We want to work with social media. Do we necessarily want to learn? I have a kid too. And we struggle to process and retain due to the constant sensory input, constantly being bombarded with different things quickly. This causes learner stress. And we're putting competition, as I mentioned before. I love people have finally stopped talking about using Kahoot in the classroom. Think about the idea behind things like Kahoot, which everybody said, whoa, it's wonderful, it's changing everything. You're causing competition in the classroom. With Kahoot, if you took CELTA, if you took Delta, if you've taken any training courses, the first thing they tell us, stop, slow down, give the student time to think and process the answer. And then we put them in front of Kahoot, which says, hurry up and give the answer. And if you don't do it, you're a loser. This is causing stress. It's only fun if you know the answer and you win. It's not fun for the people who are losing. Students can get embarrassed or discouraged when they fall behind others. This happens all the time now without technology. And we're making it even worse when they can't keep up with personalized lesson plans. Lower motivation and a sense of being unsupported. Basically, where's the teacher? We're taking the teacher and making them step back. And the idea of autonomy is not to give them something else to replace. The idea of learner autonomy is to teach them to go after their own learning, not to stick them in front of a screen. Now, the thing to keep in mind, most ed tech apps are being developed by coders, and these are teenagers. This is Doge. I'm talking not all, but the majority of ed tech apps out there are done by coders, and they're not educators. They haven't been trained. They don't understand methodology. They don't understand pedagogy. They understand how to cause engagement, how to get people to keep coming back. And this is why many of the applications fail. It's doing practice over the strategy behind teaching. And it's putting AI apps in practice over money. Now, those of you, I'll pick on my friends, and I don't mean this negative, but this is the typical timeline for AI applications. Nick Peachy finds something, researches it, tries it out, and reports on it. Russell Stannard, both friends of mine, goes and does a great job of researching, trying it out, does great videos explaining how to use it. And then 6 months down the road, we've got every other teacher who's watched the videos and tried it out or doing their own talks like here today about it. And they're doing webinars, they're promoting it on social media. And maybe a year or so later, the product is dead and it's gone. So this is the typical lifestyle of what we're doing. And people are out there still promoting products that are already off the market because they're not using it themselves. They just have a good talk about it. So my big thing is, as I say, avoid the hype. We're English teachers, we're language teachers. This is what we're hired for. We're not computer science teachers. So, all this, we have to teach them how to use AI. No, we don't. We didn't teach them how to use a cell phone. We didn't teach them how to use a calculator. We didn't teach them how to use social media or how to dance on TikTok. We didn't teach them any of this stuff. They found out themselves. Now, I listened to Robert Stroud this morning, and I agree with him. What we can do is work on prompting, because that's English, that's communication. But we don't need the app in the classroom to work on the prompting. This is writing. We have them write essays. They can write an essay. They don't have to write a whole novel. So we can work on prompt engineering, which, coming soon, you won't even have to worry about proper prompting, because if you see some of the new apps that are coming out, a lot of them through Gemini, you only have to put in a few words and it'll ask you the right questions that you don't have to put in a complete prompt anymore. So work with the writing, not with the app. We've taught English for years. If you're, hi Anastasia, I know that a bunch of you are probably under 30, but a bunch of you that are here are probably over 40, over 50, over 60. We learned the language and we did it without laptops. We did it without the internet. We did it without interactive whiteboards. In some cases, and still today, people are learning without a book. In some countries, they're doing it without paper. They're doing it without a desk. They're doing it without AI. So this jumping on the bandwagon for using AI and how it's going to save the world and change everything, I don't buy into it. You heard the quote that teachers won't be replaced by AI, but they'll be replaced by teachers who use AI. I don't agree with that because they said the same thing about VR. You don't see VR very much anymore. But that was the thing everybody had to do. It was going to revolutionize. So many products have been out there, so many different methodologies. The whiteboard, everybody jumped in on the whiteboard and they said, if you don't learn how to use the whiteboard, you're going to be left behind without a job. They said that if you don't learn to use Teams or Zoom or anything else and teach online, you're going to be out of a job. It wasn't true. So my thing is, you have to ask yourself some questions before you start bringing AI into the classroom. Here's some questions. Does it align with the objective that I have? Is it going to enhance their understanding? Is it age and level appropriate? Then you have to worry, does it collect personal data? Because most of them do, and that's why they're giving you free apps. Is it free or is it least affordable? Does it provide meaningful feedback? And a big question that I think teachers need to stop and think about, will it do something that I can't? Do I have to bring in AI because there's something that I can't do myself in order to teach? But the biggest question of all that I hope you ask yourself next time is why? So, with that, I will open it up to questions and comments and arguments, which I'm sure we'll have a lot of.